Every big scandal starts with one tiny mistake. On a quiet Wednesday evening, Officer Daniel Reeve sat in his patrol car, scrolling through a bolo alert on his dash computer. Suspect wanted for credit card fraud. Female. Mid-30s. Dark hair. Older blue sedan. Simple enough. But Daniel was exhausted, working his third double shift in a row, and his judgment wasn't sharp. At the same time, a woman named Lena Hartley was driving home from her nursing shift. She stopped by a pharmacy, bought cold medicine for her sister's sick child, and headed toward her apartment. Her car? An older blue sedan. Her hair? Dark, tied back after work. 2 minutes later, Daniel spotted her vehicle and felt a spark of certainty, the dangerous kind. He hit his lights. That one decision would unravel his career, his department, and a secret no one was supposed to uncover. Lena slowed, confused, heart beating faster. She had never been pulled over before. She rolled her window down, pharmacy bag still on her lap. Officer Daniel approached with stiffness, the kind that comes from already believing you're right. "License and registration," he said. Lena handed them over with shaking hands. Her photo, address, clean record, everything normal. But Daniel didn't look for normal. He looked for confirmation. He flashed the BLO image on his phone, a blurry security angle, barely recognizable. But the hair, the car, the tired expression. He convinced himself it was close enough. Lena tried to explain. She had just left work. She was a nurse. She had no idea what he was talking about. Daniel cut her off. "Step out of the vehicle." Lena's mouth went dry. She did as she was told. This wasn't suspicion anymore. It was a decision, and he had made it too fast. Lena stood on the curb trembling as Daniel cuffed her wrists. A neighbor recorded from across the street. To the untrained eye, it looked like a clean arrest. Inside Daniel's mind, doubt flickered, but he buried it quickly. He radioed dispatch. Possible fraud suspect detained. Pharmacy staff stepped outside, confused. They knew Lena. She shopped there weekly. One called out, "Officer, she lives right here. What's going on?" Daniel ignored them. Lena begged him to check the timestamp on the fraud alert. She was at work during that time. She could prove it. Daniel didn't check. He already had what looked like a match. As the patrol car door shut behind her, Lena caught a glimpse of her reflection in the window, confused, terrified, powerless. It was the beginning of a nightmare she never imagined could happen. Detectives processed Lena's arrest without much thought. The department was overwhelmed, understaffed, drowning in cases. A suspect turning up? Easy win. They logged her belongings, took her prints, asked repetitive questions. Every answer she gave pointed to innocence. But convenience is powerful, and her arrest fit a narrative they wanted to close quickly. Her public defender, buried under dozens of cases, couldn't get her bail hearing for 5 days. 5 days she spent in a crowded cell with women who watched her with a mix of sympathy and resignation. Daniel avoided reviewing the case file. He didn't want the guilt to sharpen. No one checked Lena's alibi. No one pulled her work logs. No one verified anything. And that silence, that lack of scrutiny, would blow open a secret buried inside the department for years. On the 6th day, Lena's younger sister Mia showed up at the station with documents. Time cards, supervisor statements, security logs. all airtight. The desk sergeant didn't want to listen. He said, "Bring it to the court." But Mia didn't leave. She demanded someone review the evidence. A junior detective finally agreed to glance at the timestamp. It took him 20 seconds to realize the impossible. Lena had been miles away, working in the trauma ward during the fraud incident. She could not have committed the crime. He froze. Someone had made a serious mistake. When he quietly asked Detective Riker, the lead on the fraud case, how this arrest was approved, Riker's face tightened. "Drop it," Riker said. His tone wasn't annoyed. It was scared. The junior detective, Evan Ruiz, couldn't shake Riker's reaction. He reviewed the bolo alert again, slowly. Something felt off. The suspect description had been updated minutes after Lena's arrest, not before. Someone changed it to match her. Evan checked the system logs. The metadata showed the update came from an internal terminal inside the detective's office. Riker's login. Evan swallowed hard. His pulse ticked. Changing a suspect description after an arrest wasn't just suspicious. It was potentially criminal. He walked toward Riker's office door, intending to confront him, but paused when he heard voices. Riker and another detective were whispering. "If she gets out, this whole thing collapses. Relax. Reeves' report backs us. No one is checking." Evan stepped back slowly. He realized something horrifying. Lena wasn't the problem. Her innocence was. While Evan dug deeper, Lena learned something unsettling in jail. She spoke to women who'd also been arrested by the same detective unit. Their stories were eerily similar. Wrong descriptions, misidentified vehicles, charges dropped quietly weeks later, bail they couldn't afford, lives upended. One woman whispered, "They needed numbers, not truth." Another said, "If your case helps them close something, they'll use you." A third said, "Some of them work with the wrong people. They pick easy targets." Lena realized she wasn't the first mistake. She might be the first to fight it. Her anger grew, not loud, but sharp. A new kind of strength crystallized inside her. Someone had ruined her life for convenience, or for something worse, and she intended to find out which. Evan, unable to shake the corruption he sensed, accessed archived case files tied to Riker's unit. Patterns emerged: false identifications, rushed arrests, missing body cam footage, and suspiciously anonymous tips that always came from the same burner number. But one thing chilled him most: a confidential informant ledger with payments approved by Riker. Dozens of payouts, large sums, no names, just case numbers. He cross-referenced them with the fraudulent charges pinned on innocent people. The ledger wasn't for informants. It was laundering money. Someone inside the department was using arrests, wrongful arrests, to justify fake informant payments. Money in, money out. No accountability. And Lena's arrest had almost been another entry. Evan felt sick. He knew what he had to do: expose everything. But someone else already sensed he was getting too close. Late that night, as Evan walked to his car in the empty parking lot, he felt unease creeping up his spine. A voice echoed from the shadows. "Curiosity is dangerous, Ruiz." He turned. Riker stood several feet away, hands in pockets, eyes cold. "You're digging where you shouldn't," Riker warned. "Drop your little investigation. It's above your pay grade." Evan swallowed. "This isn't just sloppy work. This is fraud, and people are getting hurt." Riker stepped closer. "That woman? She'll be forgotten in a month. But you have a career to think about." Evan's heartbeat thundered. The threat wasn't subtle. He got in his car without answering and drove home with shaking hands. One truth was now unmistakable. If Lena walked free, the department's entire scheme would be exposed, and Riker was willing to do anything to stop that. The judge reviewed Mia's evidence, Evan's quiet report, and inconsistencies in the arrest. He ordered Lena released immediately. Daniel Reeve, the officer who arrested her, stood stiffly at the back of the courtroom, guilt soaking into his posture. He had been wrong, and the consequences were only beginning. Lena stepped outside, blinking in the sunlight. Freedom felt unreal, too bright, too loud. Mia hugged her tightly. "You're coming home," she whispered. But Lena wasn't thinking about going home. She was thinking about the women she met in jail, about the ledger Evan hinted at during their brief hallway conversation, about the detective who told Evan to stop asking questions. Lena realized her life had already changed forever, and she wasn't leaving without answers. Evan met Lena privately at a small cafe on the edge of town. He looked exhausted and scared. He slid a folder across the table. "These are copies of the cases I mentioned. You're not alone. They've been doing this for years." Lena's throat tightened as she scanned page after page. Rushed arrests, dismissed charges, suspicious informant payments, money laundering through fake suspects. Her stomach twisted. "Why didn't anyone speak up?" she whispered. Evan swallowed hard. "Those officers, they know how to ruin careers. They choose victims who can't fight back." "But they arrested the wrong woman this time," Lena said quietly. Her eyes hardened. "This time, they picked someone who will." Evan nodded. It was time to bring everything into the light. Lena and Evan gathered evidence quietly. Financial logs, altered bolo history, case files, suspect reports. The more they dug, the worse it got. Detective Riker was siphoning money meant for real informants. He wrote up fake ones, then pinned crimes on random civilians to justify payouts. Those arrests created a paper trail that made the fraud look legitimate. Lena's arrest would have been entry number 49. She felt sick reading her own name in Riker's notes. She wasn't just a mistake. She was supposed to be a transaction. Evan whispered, "We need someone above the department, someone they can't intimidate." Lena nodded. They knew exactly who that was. The next morning, Lena and Evan walked into the Internal Affairs Division. Director Cassandra Holt, known for dismantling corruption cases across counties, listened silently as they laid out the evidence. When they finished, she exhaled slowly. "This isn't negligence," she said. This is organized misconduct, and it's been going on for years. She opened an encrypted folder on her screen. Funny thing, Riker's name already crossed my desk, complaints, reports, all dismissed by someone higher up. Evan and Lena exchanged glances. "How far up does this go?" Lena asked. Holt's face stiffened. "We're about to find out." Within hours, IA launched the largest covert investigation in the department's history. Riker had no idea his world was about to collapse. Internal affairs moved fast. They pulled financial logs, traced burner phones, accessed surveillance archives, and placed Riker under discreet monitoring. In 72 hours, they confirmed everything. Riker wasn't acting alone. 2 supervisors, a clerk, and 1 detective were funneling money into private accounts. Lena's case? Just one in a long line of victims used to cover the fraud. IA set up a sting operation. Riker walked into his office Monday morning to find Cassandra Holt waiting with 2 federal agents. His face drained of color. "Detective Riker," she said, "you're under arrest for falsifying reports, tampering with criminal evidence, and operating a fraudulent informant scheme." The department fell silent as he was cuffed. For the first time, Lena felt the scale of justice shift. The scandal exploded across the city. News anchors reported the arrests. Community groups protested. Victims came forward in waves. The police chief held a press conference, forced to confront the corruption his department had ignored for years. Officer Daniel Reeve, the one who arrested Lena, admitted his mistake publicly and testified that he had been pressured to meet arrest quotas. He wasn't corrupt. He was manipulated. And he was the one who set the dominoes falling by arresting the wrong woman. Lena spoke to the media only once. "I wasn't the first innocent person they targeted, but I will do everything I can to make sure I'm the last." Her voice shook, but her resolve did not. Months later, Lena's record was formally cleared. The city settled with her for damages, enough to stabilize her life, support her sister, and return to school. The department implemented sweeping reforms: body cam audits, independent reviews, informant oversight, and a ban on quota-based performance metrics. Daniel Reeve completed retraining and began advocating for responsible policing. Evan was promoted to lead investigator for ethics compliance. Lena's courage had rewritten the entire department. She enrolled in criminal justice courses. Her goal wasn't revenge. It was prevention. She wanted to protect the people who didn't have a voice, the ones who wouldn't have survived what she did. One evening, months after everything settled, Lena walked past the courthouse steps where she had once stood in handcuffs. She paused, breathing in the cool evening air. She was not who she was before. She was stronger, sharper, unbreakable. Her suffering had exposed a system built on shortcuts and corruption, and forced it to rebuild itself. Justice is rarely perfect, but clarity, that matters. Lena whispered to herself, "They took everything from me for a moment. I used that moment to change everything forever." And with that, she walked forward, not as a victim, but as the reason the truth finally came out. If this story resonated with you, share it with someone who needs to hear it. Let's start the conversations that matter, the ones that lead to real change. And if you'd like more stories that challenge us, inspire us, and remind us of what we're capable of when we stand for what's right, subscribe to the channel. Your support helps bring more stories like this to light.